What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday here in Reno, Nevada, or wherever you guys may be at in your individual homes. My name is Nessie, and I want to welcome you guys to Before the Culture podcast. It's been a while. I know it's been a very long time since the last time I jumped on with a wonderful panel. Last time you guys seen me, I was with some of our Polynesian Tongan brothers and that worked at Juvenile Services here in Reno, Nevada. We've come a long way since then, and I thank you guys for joining us, joining me here tonight. And I want to read this out real quick before we jump into it, because tonight's topic is I'm pretty sure it hits home for a lot of us Polynesians, especially those of us that are first generation Polynesian Americans. That have kids who continue to bust their butt off in the classroom and also on the field or the basketball court or wherever else it may be. We want to delve into the hard truths of our Polynesian community. Our mission is simple yet profound: to navigate life's challenges together, armed with honesty, wisdom, and commitment to uplift our community. I want you to join us as we explore the depths of our culture, tackle difficult topics, and strive to empower each other to thrive in today's world. With that being said, I have a wonderful panel of young people on tonight with us. I want them, before we jump straight into the business, I want them to introduce themselves, what it is that you guys are doing in our community, and just tell us a little bit about what you got going on. So I'll start with you, Sid, and then we'll just keep moving forward.
Sydney Helu. I've been in Reno since 1979, and going through sports and all that too as well. Growing up here, as you could say, what I do around here is I try to help kids get exposure, but I also try to help other avenues of Polynesian kids, probably pretty, and more minority kids, to better, to help them get in a better situation, not just through sports, but education too as well.
Right on, Sid. Oh, shoot. Go ahead, Ty.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What's up, everybody, for the Culture Podcast? My name is Fatai Langi, and I born and raised here in Reno. I actually work in the foster care community world, where we provide services to at-risk youth and also to families, specifically for family preservation. For our Polynesian community, I'm a liaison on behalf of the Nevada National Guard. So whenever we get the servicemen that come from His Majesty's Armed Forces, we try to get them to connect with our community. And so I'm kind of like just the middleman person to connect our communities. Went to Reno High School, went to Glen Duncan and Trainer Middle School, and just been here. So that's me.
Right on. Thank you, Ty. Coach Mo, please give us the pleasure of introducing yourself and what it is that you do for the community and what you've been doing right now.
Thank you guys for asking me to come on. I appreciate the opportunity to voice my opinions as well. Right now I'm the current basketball coach on the boys side at Hug High School, and I was the boys basketball coach from 2015 to 2019 at Bishop Manogue High School, and I can't wait to share some of my experiences as well. But as far as what I do in the community, man, when I used to own businesses here in Northern Nevada, we did a lot of giving back. And at Bishop Manogue, I volunteered up until the last year where they made me take a check to step away. But I enjoy what I do. I've helped a lot of young men and women accomplish goals of playing basketball at the next level. That's my area. And I will continue to do so, especially in Northern Nevada, because we don't get the exposure that a lot of these kids deserve. So that's what I can bring to the table.
Right on, Coach, and we appreciate you continuing to sculpture and navigate through our young boys' minds up there at Hug. I am a Hug alumni, 2008 class of 08, so I have a lot of history there. What's up, Sharon Lamani? Give us a quick intro.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for having me on and giving me the opportunity to share my opinion as well. My name is Sean Lemani. I am from Los Angeles. I currently live in Northern California in San Mateo. I've been I played sports in high school, and I went to UNR back in 1999 with couple dudes that Nate Brosen and George Cordova, and then back in the days. And so I have a little bit of football background in me, and I have been coaching youth football and youth rugby for the last 9 years. So I've been involved up here in Northern California with the youth sports up here. Because of the pandemic, I was able to travel across the nation from Florida to Atlanta, Washington D.C., Seattle, down to Hawaii, Vegas, L.A., and play with some of the best around the nation. And this was all because of the pandemic, because we didn't have any games here in Northern California. So we played a lot of games within the last 4 years. And I coached locally here in our local area, and we were able to put together a team to take across the nation. So that's what we're doing here, is helping these kids get better. I run a 5-on-5 lineman camp. I'm also involved in other 5-on-5 lineman camps here throughout Northern California. There's about 6 of them. We go over there and compete. We go over there and help out, and they do the same for me as well. So these kids can get the same feedback, where they can hear from different coaches that it's the progress and the process, and trust in the process as well. And that's me, Sean Lemani.
Right on. Thank you so much, Shawnee. For those of you tuning in, if you guys hear me say John every now and then, Shawnee Lamani is my older brother. So, that's in English, Shawnee is John. So if you guys hear me say John and you guys are wondering, well, there's only 5 of you, why is he calling out a 6th name? It's because it's John. So, hey, let's get down to it, man. I don't want to waste nobody's time. I definitely want to have this open conversation about what has transpired within the last 2 weeks. And for those of you who do not know and that are tuning in who don't know what's been going on here in Reno, Nevada, basically what is happening in the sports world in high school level is Bishop Manogue High School girls basketball head coach Sarah Chopper Ramirez was recently fired. Let me see if I can pull this up. Fired because she was told that she needed to watch how much she played the Brown kids. Chopper claimed that in an August preseason meeting with Shambari, I hope I'm saying that right, who also happens to be the president of Manogue High School, was told that the team is disproportionate amount of kids that the president basically had told Sarah that she needed to be careful about how much she's playing the Brown kids because the parent community could be complaining. The article, if you guys have not seen it yet, I will post it up on my comments. But what I do want to do right now is I want to play the video clip for those of us that haven't heard it yet. And this is a video clip that is alleged to be taken during this off-season meeting that Sarah Ramirez had with the president. And once I play it, I'll open up the floor for you guys to give us your thoughts, especially because all of us on this panel right now are parents to kids who play sports. And I definitely want to get you guys' input on that. So let's get it going.
You have a disproportionate amount of your kids are financial aid kids, right? And that are coming from public schools. And then you have these Catholic school kids. Your team in football are probably our 2 most diverse teams. And so that's going to create some issues in our parent community. Yeah. And I think that we've got to be super intentional about not supporting or creating a narrative where it looks like oh, well, we're paying to bring in these brown kids to come and win us basketball games, and then the white kids don't get to play. Now,
All right. So you guys heard it yourself. The president of what is alleged to be the president of Bishop Manogue has come out and said to Sarah, basically, from my interpretation, is if the white parents or the parents are paying more money, they want to see their kids play. And she needed to watch out for how much playing time these kids, these brown kids, are getting, and to not have this narrative of Bishop Manogue is going to find these brown kids to come into our school just to win us football games, basketball games, or games in general. Us as Polynesian descent or non-white people that have kids that are good at their sports, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Ty, we'll start with you.
I think, well, when I think about it, I think about, dang, we're still doing this. You know, a lot of times that's what I think. I think it's like, dang, here we are, this is where we are. I thought that we've kind of elevated a little bit more. As a Polynesian parent, I know what I'm doing as far as athletically and academically for my child to help them reach the highest potential or the highest level of success, whatever that looks like, whether it's playing in high school sports or college sports, you know, or anything after that. But I know this might sound off, but I feel like sometimes it doesn't surprise me with here in Reno, because I still feel like it exists here in Reno. You know, like just with racism, systemic racism. When I hear that comment, when I saw that, I actually just saw Sarah at, I don't know her personally at all. I just know her through coming to watch Tawa and Mila's games. But when I do see her off the court, you know, this lady is working hard. And when I see somebody that works hard like that for the children, and she's working these feeder programs, you know, like these little minor elite programs, and my kid is a part of that program, it just really makes me appreciate to know that there are other people that see potential in our children in the way that we see, in the way that we push them. And it really makes me question. It makes me question the admission process, you know, all of that, because my son applied for Manogue, and I'm not hating at all. He didn't get accepted, but academically, probably, you know, one of the brightest kids that I know. He came in with a portfolio and a resume. I mean, presented himself academically, you know, and just to know that there's this other side that exists. I think if it wasn't for the audio, a lot of people would be like, nah, that does not exist. But when you hear little things, you know what I mean? Like you hear it drop around the community and you're like, no, this can't be real. But then when you hear it, it's like, dang, this is where we're at. I have a child that plays for the minor elite, you know, their feeder program. And my son flat out told me, well, if my cousin is not going to that school, he doesn't know if he wants to continue to wear the gear because of just what they're hearing. And I just feel like sometimes it handicaps the true potential that Manogue stands for. I don't think that I honestly don't think that this is what they are. I do feel like that there are certain people in leadership that probably don't have it all together, that are making decisions all on their own. But it really does concern me. And to label the kids, to label it in that way. They didn't say black kids. He didn't say the black kids. It's evident. We have Black Americans, you know, that represent our community as well. It was specific to brown kids. And when we think about some of the big names, the brown kids that have made names, that have won championships, you know, we think about like the Sales Imanu, we think about Mila, we think about Tawa, we think about Nube Bishop's daughter. You know what I mean? So when I think about brown kids, when they say brown kids, those are the names that I see. Those are the kids, I know these parents. I know how hard they work. And some of these parents, they pay out of pocket. Some of them, not all of them, are on scholarships, you know, so it's just really challenging. My weekend wasn't so good. I'll be flat out transparent. It's sad that's how bad it affected me. And my kids don't even go there. I have my nephew that goes to school there, you know, and so if I'm affected by it, I only wonder some of these other parents that are also affected by it, and some of our Polynesian families that feel like, oh dang, we still have to keep them in there no matter what because this is the best of the best. Says who is it that's got? I'm gonna be mindful of my verbiage, but who is it that's telling them that that's the best of the best? You know what I mean? So those are
Yeah.
just things that I wonder about. It's definitely conversations that we have at home about it, because my boys, they're impacted by that's taking place, and to actually see a coach standing up for it, man, that felt like a Martin Luther King moment for me.
Yeah,
For
she
her to
deserves
just,
a definitely, definitely, definitely.
it just felt like it just felt like a heroic moment, and especially to know that this has been going on. This is going on, and it has been going. I think that's just kind of like the thing that is just a bit challenging for me.
Yeah, right on, Ty. What's up, Sid? Holla at me, man. What was your initial thoughts about the article when it first came out, and then that there was an audio clip, and then once you heard the audio clip, you as I've always, every time I think of you, Sid, I've always thought of it as like you've always been a pillar for Minogue. You've always been a Minogue supporter. All your boys went there, and then now all this unfolds. Now, give us your thoughts on what it is you think about.
Oh man, right now, after listening to that audio, it's completely different when you read it than you listen to it. It's one, devastating. You know, it's like, yeah, I'm about to cry.
It's all good, bro.
But the thing is when they look at you that way. That's what pisses me off. It's because you think about. I went, and I'm gonna get out of here, dude. I went to the NIAA like what? How many times I get called up for trying to bring minorities in here and trying to help build that school, and this is how they look at us. So, that's. I think that's where it hurt me. But I knew that was the place for my kids to go to because I had, I had other boys that went to public school, and I knew the difference between public and private, you know, and I knew that just by being in that environment, they needed to be there because it was a structure, it was a structure and it was something that they were going to get. Because I can honestly say, when they went, the ones that went to public, they rarely got help. And, it was like, yeah, you go figure it out. I had one that went to hug, the other one went to read. They were
Mhm.
dusted under the rug. It was like, here, go figure it out. But when I had the other two that went to Minogue, man, I had one that he was challenged, going to Minogue. And I can honestly say that Minogue really worked with him because he got expelled twice and he ended up graduating out of there. The other one, he was like the golden child. He was everything about, going to school, doing all the right things. But to compare both of the schools, the public to private, I can really say that, I can really say for myself that the private was the best decision, for them to go is because those two that went to private, they shortly went, and this is the thing, they shortly went to, uh, to a public school in Arizona for like 5, 6 months, and they saw the complete difference of what they were going to benefit, what was the outcome, what was going to be benefited of them. So, um, but to say, but to carry on of what happened, and like we talked about earlier, that that issue should have never, that issue should have never even came to the president. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If a parent was gonna come, and I'm probably speaking as a coach, I'm probably speaking because I've been around sports a long time, and Mo knows this, Shonen probably knows this too as well. Then when that comes to a coach, then when that comes, to a certain thing, man, you cut it off right there. It's like, listen, kid gotta get better. We'll develop him, but you don't let anything seep that far. Especially, I'm shocked that even that even got to the parents, and not to the parents, but how the parents got to the administration. That right there just goes to show where by him dropping what the parent community thinks, his ear, and this is just me because I dissect things pretty well. His ear was stuck onto what the parents are telling him, what's going on.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Sid, can I add something real quick? And I know it's not my turn to speak at the moment, but Sid, two questions. One, how would you feel if your kids were currently in school? That's one. And second question would be, based on your experience, and I'll share mine later, do you think it matters who the parent is that is complaining? That's really important in this whole thing, because there might have been 10 complaints, but the ones they
right,
take seriously are the ones that unfortunately are helping pay for school and do a lot of different things and so on and so forth. So how would you feel if your kids were there right now? And do you believe that it matters who complains?
No, before you answer, Sid, man, Coach, I think you hacked into my computer and saw the questions that I was supposed to be asking, man, because that was my
Oh, my
follow
fault,
up.
man. My fault.
Hey, man, what kind of technology you got over there, man?
Hey,
No, no,
man, I'm not a technology guy. We just think alike.
right.
I'll stay
no,
in
no,
my
you're good,
lane.
you're
Let me
good, you're
know when
good.
it's my turn.
Yeah, yeah. No, hey, you asked the question. That was the next question. I want all five of us to think about that. Hey, Sid, I want you to continue your thought. Finish up your thought, and then Mo, you go straight in and give us your thoughts, and then John, we're gonna end off with you for that part.
Just the fact is that right now, the way that I look at Minogue, and this is just the way it is. What I got out of it and what I have got out of it, I have got a lot of support. Not just from the school, but it was the networking, the family right there, too as well. They did a lot, not into school, but out of school too as well. To help with my kids and my relatives, not just on the basis of, doing things, but, you know, being personal with them, too as well. Um, and the school, the all it does, for me, do I stand by, private school? Do I stand by that school? I like the school, other than, with the situation that happened. I get it, man. I get it. And, I've heard it. And I can honestly say, there's things that, now that what this has been done, what we found right now I second guess. Now I see things that what happened in the past was like, man, was that controlled by somebody? Because I had some phenomenal players on that Minogue team when Preston, Vi, and Thali and Vati played, that some of them should have been in. And, I'm like, man, why are these kids out? But now this right here, it's like, I said, man, now you're gonna second guess everything now. It's like, shoot, there was times where I thought, Vi should have been in there and they pulled him out. It's
Yeah,
like, man, why are they pulling this kid out? You know, and
yeah,
so no, maybe it could have been before a break or anything like that, but now all that stuff really does second guess, especially when you hear him say brown kids, like she was saying from the beginning. She didn't point out black kids. He didn't say black kids or any other kids. He said brown kids, and we all know who the brown kids are.
yeah,
They're the
yeah,
Tongan kids. I'll just flat
yeah,
out say it, man. They're the ones. They're the ones that are bringing it and are the foundation. That's why I can really say that's honestly the Tongan kid and the minority. They're the ones. They're the reason why they're winning. And because I could tell you this, and I tell people this, and Mo knows this too. In 2015, when we came to that school, what people would laugh at us. They would laugh and say, "Man, that school has no reason to be on the schedule, man. Everyone's gonna beat them. You guys are gonna be losers and all that. But that special class, and Mo knows too, because Mo had two Tongan kids on his basketball team, the twins, too as well. And they did things over there that that class right there had to. They took it from both sides. They took it from people that didn't. They took it from their neighborhood, and they took it from the other side too as well. The rich side. So those guys were getting attacked from both ways. You're trying to be something that you're not, but then the other ones are said telling them to go back where you're from. You get what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And that's,
Yeah.
but that's the thing that, you know, um, gosh, man, I just lost my the train of thought. But,
Oh, it's all good.
um,
See.
but you could take a lot of things out of this. Um, but it just takes one. It just takes something like this just to open us up.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I appreciate that your thoughts on that, Coach Mo. You've been in the trenches, man, over there at Bishop Manogue as a coach. So you see more of what goes on internally within the faculty, the whole dynamics of the administration, and all that stuff like that. When you first seen the article that came out and that was published, and then a week later the audio comes out, or probably a couple of days after the audio comes out, what was your first initial thoughts on that as a former coach for this prestigious establishment that we are to see the school as? What were your thoughts?
My initial thought was good for Sarah, and I'll explain that. I'll explain to you why. First, I want to confirm that that is Matt Shambari's voice on that phone call because I've spoken to him a lot of times. Um, and secondly, I experienced something similar. I was not, I want to be clear, I don't want to mislead anybody. The word, brown kids or black kids were never used with me. However, at my place of business one day, I get a surprise visit from Mr. Shambari in his first year at Bishop Manogue. And it was to ensure certain kids were on certain teams and certain kids that were on these certain teams were going to be looked at carefully by the coaches to ensure playing time.
Wow.
Matt Shambari's first year was my last year at Minogue, unfortunately, and I never had an exit interview. And when I got a phone call from my athletic director, it was an apologetic phone call that said, "You did not follow Shambari's roadmap," is the word that I was given. So
Wow.
when I saw Sarah's and just for the record, we went 26-4 that year. We made the state final four after making the state championship game the previous year and losing to Bishop Gorman. We set a school record for wins. We also set a school record for lowest amount of points given up. And we had three players. One was Caucasian, one was African American, and one was Tongan that all made all state honors. So, and one of those kids, the Tongan one, happened to play at the University of Nevada for 2 years. So we had a great group of kids. For me, it was, and just like Sarah said in her article, it's not about whether they're white, black, Asian, Tongan, Polyn, whatever the race is. It's about who's going to help us win games. And that's
Mm.
the direction that I took. And obviously, with Sarah winning, I believe, don't quote me, the first uh, top division state championship for Bishop Manogue in girls basketball, she played to win games. That's her job. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, the outside influences led her to quote unquote be jobless after reaching the pinnacle at her profession. And it's
Yeah.
sad. My heart breaks out. My heart breaks for her. Sarah is a fantastic coach, first and foremost. And the year that I was let go, she had stepped down from Reed, and I had asked her to come and join me at Minot at a part of the boys staff because I do look up to her as a coach. She's phenomenal, and she's won a lot of games in Northern Nevada, and she's helped a lot of kids accomplish their dreams of playing at the next level, so on and so forth. And unfortunately, in my opinion, the school needs to draw a line in the sand for themselves. if you want to have winning programs, it's been proven historically. Don't take my word for it. Go look it up. That there has to be a lot of diversity in order for that to happen. And
Mm.
the best kids play. The best kids play. That's how sports have always been. That's how you earn opportunities to play at the next level and get a free education and so on and so forth. There was a young lady whose family is very well off, and she, prior to this particular group at Minogue, she was probably the best player to ever play at Minogue. She was Gatorade Player of the Year, and she was Caucasian. And her, I don't know if she was on scholarship or not, so I don't want to misspeak, but nobody else got upset when a Caucasian was the best player and she was playing 32 minutes a night and all that
Mm.
stuff. You know why? Because she earned it. And
Mm.
it just seems like the same respect is not given. However, they're willing to pay for your education. That's where they got to draw the line in the sand. If they want winning programs and they're going to go out and bring in kids to help them win, then they need to stand behind their philosophy. And it just seems like they don't do that. They want
Yeah.
to please everybody. And unfortunately, that's not how real world works. And I'm glad that Sarah recorded Mr. Shambari. And I'm glad that I could have never brought this up because nobody would have believed me. That's just a
Mm.
pure fact. Like, hey, they did this. They told me if I don't play these kids, this and that. Nobody was going to believe me. Unless you have evidence, it's all BS. And I'm proud of Sarah that she stepped out and she wants to clear her name of any wrongdoings. I've never heard of a coach winning a state championship and losing their job.
Right.
That is
Exactly.
absolutely
That part.
absurd. Absolutely
Yeah,
absurd. So I
that's true.
I can tell you
Yeah.
from both sides of it. As a parent of a private school kids, I have two of them. From my experience at Minogue as a coach, my daughters were still at Sage Ridge at the time, which is another private school here, and they have a very small high school. But if I would have continued to live in Reno, which I moved in 2019 and came back about a year ago, my kids, even on scholarship, would not have attended Minogue, given what my experience was with how kids were treated at Minogue. I saw,
Yeah.
again, this is off the basketball subject, but players on my team, two of them got caught smoking pot. One was suspended for a week, and one was back at school the next day. And
Jeez.
there's parts of the school that are named after a certain one of there's it's a bunch of families. It's not just one family, but this particular kid that got in trouble, there's a part of the school that's named after grandpa or grandma or somebody, and he was at school the next day while the other kid had to sit home for a week. So the experiences I had, my kids, I would never let my kids be a part of that. I would much rather them go to wherever school we're zoned for or whatever and just be treated as one of the students, not as somebody who's been given a handout, nor as somebody who, yeah, you're better than so and so, but so and so's family does X, Y, and Z. So you're here for an opportunity that we're not really giving you because we have to cater to the other side. Then stop bringing in these kids.
Yeah.
Let them go to their local schools. Let them shine where they need to shine. That's
Yeah.
my frustration, man. I'm proud of Sarah for taking the measures that she did. For the rest of us, I'm not alone. I talked to another coach that literally told me, "I hope somebody calls me,"
Yeah.
because I was his successor. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, right on, Coach. Yeah, man, we definitely want to give Sarah flowers real quick. Hey, there's 50 or 46 people across two platforms that are watching right now. Hey, let's show Sarah some virtual love. You guys throw up some hearts in the chat right now. We want to send her some positive vibes along the way. John, I've always considered you a professional sports dad. You've played football at the highest collegiate level. You have kids of your own, millions of them within your kid. I'm just kidding, but you being a father, a sports father, there's a lot of coaches that look at your kids coming up. When you seen this coming out here in our city in Reno, and you just heard the audio clip, what were some things from a parent standpoint, and also as a former player, like what are some things that were going through your mind?
Um, hey, sorry for the lighting. I'm on the way right now, so this is the best I can do. But um, my initial thought was, they doing it over there too, because they're doing it over here in NorCal. I seen it. I seen this last year, right? I seen
Wow.
this already. So I'm like, okay, they doing it over there too. I'm not too surprised, but I am pissed. I'm very pissed. I'm pissed that it happened last year, because last year my son was supposed to go to that school, right? We went to the school. We already got accepted. We were supposed to go to the school, and then when we went to watch the playoff game, they were up by 14 or 20 points, right? And they took out all the brown kids and put in all the other kids, and the other team came back, tied the game up, and then beat them. So they lost because
Wow.
they wanted to play that maybe the dad or mom, hey, they had to make them happy by putting them in. But y'all not happy? Y'all won the state championship. That's not good
Yeah.
enough. Like, you
Yeah.
should be happy that you were on that team that won the state championship. Like, that's not good enough. Do you really think you would have won the state championship if you were playing, right? If those brown kids weren't playing, do you really think? And I feel, you know, I'm glad Sarah stood up, but she worked so hard
Yeah.
to get in this position, right? To get this job. Then she worked so hard to train these kids to be the best that they can be so they can win games, right?
Hmm.
She knew she couldn't win games with those other players, or else they would have played, right? So I've been
Yeah.
coaching for a long time. Excuse me if I go all over the place. I'm getting frustrated as I'm speaking about the situation, because I've seen this and it's happened before. It's happened to my nephews. It's happened to us, right? And what was I saying? What was I saying? That's what I'm talking about. But like, I've seen this happen in many cases. So right, we trying to simulate what's happening at the next level, high school. If you're coaching high school, then college, right? So when I coach youth football, I'm here to develop you, but I'm also going to let you know, and I'll let your parents know also up from the jump. Hey, look, there's a first string, there's a second string, and a third string, right? You
Hmm.
need to put, right. If you're a first string, you need to play your role if you deserved it. If you're a second string, you need to get better. If you're a third string, get better so you can be a second string and work your way up, right? And I tell these guys who are first string also, hey, you need to grind and run up the score so you can help these other guys in the second string get in. You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying? So you need to do your best and run up the score and compete, because we're gonna play our best five or
Yeah.
best 11, right? If if she's tired, then the backup is better than her. Then we'll take her out, let her get some and bring in. So that way the rotation is still the best five, and we're gonna keep it that way until we're able to sub in some second strings and run up the score, right? So
Yeah.
Sarah did. Come on, I'm not gonna work my butt off for for me to make some parents happy, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to win a championship game here, like the other guys on this panel was talking about. Like, we're trying to win the game. We're trying to win the game, and if we can't win the game with the first string, I mean, if we need the first string to stay in the game, to stay in the game and to win the game, then that's what we have to do, right? You play your role. You're a second string. You're a third string. But in my situation, that's why I didn't take my son to that school. I
Yeah.
moved him to another school. All these places look nice. They look nice from the outside, right? My son's been here and been there. We went to a public school. It looked nice because they 9-1 every season. This public school never lost more than 2 games. It looks. And then when you get in, you see all the crazy stuff that happens with the politics as far as who's playing and who's not playing, right? How they're using the brown kids to block for the other kids, right? The other kids are the quarterback, and so we're gonna use the brown kids. I seen that with my own eyes, so we checked up out of there because you didn't want to win the game. You were trying to run up the stats for the kid. So then we went to another school, and this other public school, was all about football, was all about winning, was all about developing players, and that was a public school. So The private school, in my opinion, my oldest son Nate was the best player in the league that year. But he didn't
Hmm.
go no looks. No recruiter came to our school because we're a little rinky-dink public school. We did go out for the private school, but it was a little bit too much money. I couldn't afford that. So we stayed in the public school. But then with my second son coming up, we look back and hey, we should have checked our son in that private school. So that way, sort of like Manogue, right? We should have put him in Manogue because all the
Yeah.
recruiters come to Manogue. All the kids that my son beat out in 5-on-5 that off season before his senior year, he beat out all these kids that went to let's say Manogue, and they got the big offers. They got the Texas D1 offers, and my son was left with D3 offers. And my son is looking at me like, Dad, I beat all those dudes. And I
Yeah.
said, man, it's the school, right? It's the school. So with my second son, we got it. We got it. We was able to make it work where he was able to go to this school, this private school. He's in private school now. They somewhat going through the same situation too. But in my case, if this would have happened to me, hey, you see me echo over and over again the best 5 plays, right?
Yeah.
Not to toot my horn or something like that, but I have a lot of championships with my youth football team. I have a lot. If you've been following me, we we've won over 10 national championships, and that's because we played the best. We play the best players. We play the best players. We went all the way. We went 35-0 in 3 years.
Wow.
From Washington, D.C. to Hawaii, we went 35-0. We beat everybody across the nation with our best players. A lot of those kids traveled. They spent a lot of money, and they didn't get to play on our travel team. But they understood. They understood the mission. It was to go and win, right? They were good backups. They were good. Running twos on our ones. They were good. Hey, they knew their role when they joined this team, right? And if I'm going to a school and I'm watching my son ride the pond and he's better than those kids, I'm out. I'm
Yeah.
out. Right? I'm out. If I see the best 11, if my son is not the best 11 or the best 5 and he's riding a pond, I know he's a second string. I have no problem with that. I
Yeah.
have no son. You got to work. You got to work. I have no problem with the best 7 on best 5 or best 11 on the court or on the field. I have no problem. But when you got the Brown kids got to sit right, and this is not the best 5, that's I'd be very very upset, right? Because the coach is not the coach is trying to win a championship. She's not
But
there
the
to cater
parents
to
are
these
not.
parents,
The
Right.
parents
right? She's
are
trying.
trying to win
Parents are
it.
not.
They're
Yeah.
not.
Her resume her
Yeah, they don't.
resume got her this job. You
Hmm.
hired her to win championships. What did you go get her from? Right? To do what?
Yep.
To
Yep.
please the parents? You should have
Yeah.
made the parents coach.
Yeah.
Right? That's how
Yep.
your kids play. You need to coach so your kids can play. If you want your child to play, that's how you pick your child can play is go coach that team and you can do whatever you want with that team.
But
Yeah.
Sione, they don't want to put in the time. They don't want to do the off-season stuff. They
Yeah.
just want to complain because their kids, and it doesn't matter what ethnicity they are. If they're not good enough to be on the court to help you win games, they're not good enough to be on the court to help you win games. It's
Hmm.
that
So so
simple.
so
No.
so they thought their money would outweigh talent.
Bam.
Yeah. In this
Unfortunately,
case, that's exactly what happened. In this case,
Yeah,
in
you're
this specific
exactly right.
case, for Sarah, for Coach Sarah, that's exactly what happened. Pocketbooks were more important than win columns of the school.
That's
And
not fair. That's not fair to the coach.
that's
She
yeah,
not
worked
fair to the
hard for.
to the
kids.
kids,
Hold on, the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not fair
Yes,
to the kids, man. Like, okay, you got one or two unhappy kids, and then you're giving up the champions,
Yeah.
multiple state championship coach. Now, what about the rest of the kids who are there because they want an opportunity to play at the next level and they want to keep winning?
Yeah.
They let the money outweigh what's right, and that's
Yep.
the problem that
That's
they have.
exactly what happened.
You got to
And
stop bringing in kids if they
yeah.
just want to be a regular public school and play whoever's there, like what Sage Ridge does, right?
Mhm.
They're not worried about winning or losing. They just play the kids that are there, and That's one philosophy. It sounds like they're trying to please both sides, and that's impossible. You
Yeah.
cannot please both sides.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know the crazy part is, you know, when I think about that, well, actually, before I go ahead, John, I'll let you finish up your thought.
No, no, I'm like I heard earlier, right? I've been coaching for a long time. The darker white kids win the championships, right? I've never
It is
seen
what
these
it
Hey, I
is.
championships,
never heard that before.
right? You gotta have dark white kids on your team to win these championships, right? You need them. You need them. They bring a different style and different effort to the game and a different talent. That's why you gave them those
Absolutely.
scholarships. That's why you brought them on board to your school to help you win the championship, right? That's why they're there, right? Don't accept them. Don't accept them, right?
Yeah.
Hey, hey,
You know, and
I there's some, man, it's crazy. I've seen some stuff, man, that's wild. So
Hey, I
they
see a
have a
vein popping
budget,
out,
right?
man. Chill. I see a vein popping.
Hey,
I,
check this out. Check this out. Listen to me. I don't know. I might get in trouble for this, but I've seen some great. I've seen there. I know there's money at Minogue, right? There's hella money at Minogue. Let's just say, but for sports, for this sport, let's let's deny these brown kids so that way we don't have to use that budget for that.
Mm,
You get what I'm saying? The kid
yeah.
got good grades. The kid comes from a good family. The kid, everything is right. The only thing that's not right might be their tax bracket. Oh, they
Mm,
can't afford this school, and if they can't afford this school, then we're gonna have to take out the budget. But if we just decline them right now, then we don't have to use that budget for them.
give it
Make
to the football
sense?
team. No,
Some some of some of y'all, hey, this budget for football, we can have more money on it and use it on something else if we just decline those brown kids that are here for football or basketball or so and so. That's crazy, huh? It's
yeah,
happening.
that's
That is
you know
crazy.
when I think about this, you know, that this whole situation happened, you know, we all know at least two or three people that are on this team. They're specifically the state championship girls varsity basketball team, and you know, it does hit home. Sid, you said it yourself, it hits home. I think about my two brothers. You know, shout out to June and shout out to BJ. You know, because they were sports kids growing up as first generation Polynesian Americans. Now they. I said this earlier to Sydney. Like when I think about this whole situation, man, I think about like when I was growing up. I wanted to go to schools not to play ball. It was to go because my relatives were there, my cousins, my brothers, my friends were at the school. Going to play at another school when we were these kids' age never crossed our mind. It was like get that school better, right? And for the most part, for those of us that were Polynesian kids, we grew up. Our own schools were Wooster or Sparks or Hug, right?
Hey, and
So
we never experienced this kind of stuff when we were
exactly,
in school.
exactly.
yep,
Uh, or our schools or schools that we went to, like I've never experienced. Hey, don't play. I mean, we were all brown over there, but like you
yeah.
know, I it's crazy that our kids is experiencing this craziness.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, John, because when I think about this situation, and I think about my two brothers, three of them actually, you know, sending, you know, Tonu, shout out to Tonu, Mila, and Tawa, you know, they're really good at their sport, and so I think about my brothers, and I'm just like, man, we came up from nothing. We came up, you know, playing at Hug, and now that they're fathers, now they have the opportunity to give their kids the support and resources that we've never had as sports kids. And when they're really good at their sport and the school hires a coach that attracts these kids that want to be great and they end up being great, and you go 3 years in a row to the state tournament and you finally win on the third year under that coach, and then she gets canned because you're playing too many brown kids. I feel so bad and I empathize for my brothers because like they spent a lot of money, even though they're on partial scholarships, they're academic scholarships, you know, they spend a lot of money trying to provide the best for their kids. And basically, the president basically said, well, your pockets aren't deep enough. So, excuse my wording, F your kids. F your daughter for winning player of the year as a sophomore. That doesn't matter anymore. I'm getting this coach out of here because she didn't do what she was supposed to do. And that was give more other white players more time. Right. And that's really what we've been talking about. And that's a segue, right, coach, to what you had asked earlier. Right. What do we do about us as parents putting our kids in these positions to succeed in these programs that are paid, but it seems like it's more of you're paying to play, and the more you pay, the more you play. What do you guys think about that? Anybody can go.
You're 100% right, man. And put yourself in this. Is it your niece, right? The sophomore that was player of the year. Yeah, I've watched her play, man. She's phenomenal. She's going to be a Division I athlete for sure, high major. And if I could be wrong, but from what I understand, she transferred out as well, right?
Yep.
So
go Mustangs.
Now you've lost a Division I athlete that could have helped your school, that was a part of your success for the next 2 years, and could have probably brought you home at least one more state title with the right coach, which they had. It's unfortunate, man. It really is, because a young lady like that, it's that school should be there to support those kind of kids, the kids from the inner city that don't have the money, but they're able to get this opportunity to flourish.
Yeah, man.
And the other thing that Sione said, he's 100% right. You bring in the best coaches at the best schools.
Yeah.
Right. And you help. I still have kids that played for me at Minogue that are playing. This was their last year playing college. You bring in the best coaches to try to help the best student athletes at your school thrive. And it's really unfortunate that that the influence from the boosters, donors, families with deep pockets, so on and so forth, leads to a state, I'm going to say this again, man, multiple state championship coach getting fired after winning the state championship. When I say that out loud, I want to call myself stupid for even saying it, because how does that even make sense?
Mm-hmm.
If parents are complaining, you show them the plaque. Hey, we won a state championship. Like, your complaints are not valid. They played the best players to accomplish the ultimate goal. It's really frustrating as a coach to see one of your peers get treated like that. It's unfortunate. I wish I could win a state championship. I've been doing this 25 years, haven't had the chance to do that. And I can't imagine what I would do if I got fired after I won a state championship. Like, it would blow my own mind. And you know, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Like Sione was saying, his son got into Minogue. Obviously, his son and sons are all great athletes, football players. I did not catch the lady's name. I apologize. But her son went in for academics, a great student. Maybe he wants to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that gets overlooked, because did you know that, like, when I got hired at Minogue, there was a thing on Twitter and a little thing on, like, the TV, like, oh, they hired this guy. When they hired the football coach, Sid, correct me if I'm wrong, they had a full-blown press conference. And one of the admin, they had a press conference, like they just brought in Nick Saban. One of their admin told me that the school is becoming a joke at that point. That was in 2018, I believe, when they brought in their new football coach. And you know, the sad thing is I guarantee you they've had dozens of complaints about other sports and nothing has got done.
Yeah.
Sarah was their scapegoat to trying to please these people. And I am thankful to her that she has the cojones to take the measures that she has taken, because there's a lot of people with a lot of money and a lot of power at that place, and it's hard to go against them. I just have no evidence, and she does. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but in the state of Nevada, face-to-face conversation, only one person in the entire room has to consent to record that conversation for it to be legal. So it's different than being on the phone. So what she did is not illegal. And Shambari was trying to hint in his statement that he was, being recorded illegally. It's not illegal. that what she did
Yeah.
is 100% legal. And and I'm not an attorney, so feel free to ask one of them, but they'll tell you the same thing. I talked to
Yeah.
3 of them today. So
Yeah, I want to shine some light and give some flowers also, not because he's my brother, but because he's my brother and my sister-in-law, they're great parents, Junior and Anna. The fact that Dawa left Manogue the following week after Coach Sarah got fired, and she's Dawa sacrificing a possible year of ineligibility because she did the right thing. Right. So I want to shine light on these players, these great players, and their parents too, man. Shout out to June and Anna, man. You guys are raising up such a great young lady. Shout out to Mila, shout out to BJ and Stephanie, man. Shout out to Bishop Nuve and Mele, Leka, Bawa. Maka, they're two great seniors that were starting. Three starters on the basketball team. One half Samoan, half black, two full Tongans. Right. So that's what the article talks about. It's like, majority of your starting lineup are all brown kids, and so, I mean, I'll pass it on to you guys, but I just wanted to highlight that like our community, we stand behind our parents, our coaches that are doing the right thing and all that good stuff. So Sid, do you have anything to add on to that?
In process of what the starters being brown, the thing is, like, I never looked at it as color. I just, me as a coach, I always look, because I was always overlooked, when I played ball. I didn't fit the height, fit anything. But you know what? When you step on the court, you get between the lines, it's a whole different situation. My coach said back in high school at Worcester, man, said once you step between the lines, it's like going through a dark alley. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you either gonna go in or you ain't gonna come out. You know what I'm saying? So I've always
Mm-hmm.
looked at sports. Whenever I looked at everybody, I always looked for what they brought to the table. And I can honestly say, and I remember the girls would ask me, "Man, why don't you come to my games? Why don't you come to my games?" Because I was like my mom and dad, and I even told Mo this, because Mo would ask me the same thing. Why don't you come to the game? I said, just make it to the championship game. I go,
he's
make it to
not
the
he's
champ,
not
right?
lying, man. He's
And I
not
said,
lying.
make it to the championship. Because that's what my parents used to tell me all the time. And I'll tell you this, and if you guys knew, my mom and dad, they worked all the time, you know, and for them to take a game off, no food. So,
Yeah.
and they were, shoot, man, I get too emotional, but the thing
No, man.
is like I always saw it for what they brought. I never saw a color. And those three girls, and when me and Dolly went to go watch them, I was like, dang, these three girls were outstanding. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
saying like just outstanding playing. Like, you could really see the separation of their skill level compared to everybody on the court. I don't say that because, they're related to me. I say that because I saw it on court and I was just like, man, these three girls, like, they do things that that anybody that has coached, you could see it just by the way they tie their shoes, by the way they walk on the
Sid,
court.
they
Yeah,
just won a state championship, bro.
Yeah.
right.
They
Like, I
just
mean,
That's
won.
what I'm
what
saying.
else could they prove? They have nothing else to prove. Neither does
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sarah.
man.
That's the
No, they
crazy part
don't.
about firing a coach after you win a state. They reached the pinnacle. The pinnacle.
And shoot, it's like crazy, man, because to reach that level right there, then all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, I see it on, I catch everything late because, my kids are not affiliated with high school anymore. But man,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, man, well, what happened? Why did they fire her? And then as things started spinning, I started feeling out. I was like, man, that's just too sad. And I think why I'm so emotional is because when I listened to what the audio brought about, that's what really hit me hard because that's how they see me. That's how they see our
Yeah.
kids. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that right there irritates the hell out of me because what I did from behind the scenes to bring those kids to that school and the shit that I had to go through with the NIAA, you know, getting called upon for doing all this illegal stuff, backdoor stuff. I won every single case. I had 5 cases going up against the NIAA, and I won every single one. And guess what? I had a letter of apology from them telling me that they're sorry, you know? And that's the thing, and that's what, and for that statement to come out and to hear that, you know, and to hear that and to, it's like, dang, man, you know, shoot, all this time I've been doing this, and this is how you know, this is how their parent community, probably a few of their parent community looks at us. I'm like, dang, dude, I was just over here trying to support you guys, you know, trying to, you know, bring diversity, which, you know, and I could honestly say the diversity at Minogue, when those boys came through in 2015, you know, that 2019 class, 2020 class, 2020, that was the most diverse school that they had over there, and it clearly was. And you know, Coach Mo could say that for himself because you know he experienced that whole thing, you know, and to see how it all turned out and the way it came in, you know, it's sad because you know what, the coach Sarah, you know, she did a great job, man, and for her to go out like, usually people that win championships, you know, they usually go out winning and resigning, you know, and it's on their
Or
terms,
they
but
get an extension.
exactly extension, you know, but I guess it's not too much, but you know,
I think you're missing though. I mean, I never heard about Minogue until Sydney, you started advocating for the school. Honestly, flat out truth. I never knew anything about Minogue. Like, I think when Vaati was going there, you know, of course, like we started to pay attention, but until you were like advocating, you know, I mean, we see the post, we see the wins. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I thought Reno High School was number 1. I'm just saying that because I went to the school. You know,
Hey,
I'm like,
I was telling y'all, it looks pretty from the outside. It
right,
looks
yes.
pretty from the outside.
I mean, but this is the thing that I'm thinking. So what's the solution, right? So we're trying to figure out what the solution is. I think specifically to our poly families, we're always gonna go where we see success at.
Yeah.
You know, Sydney was out there advocating. Of course, he was doing his part, educating our families, you know, letting them know about this, that, and the third. Some of our poly families probably didn't really understand some of the verbiage. I'm not downing anybody, but sometimes, you know, college recruits, these people, they come and they talk to our parents thinking that we understand the language. We don't know what the language is. All we want to know is free school, money, pay for my kids. Okay, they come, you know, and that's, to me, that's why I would do it. But I feel like the solution for our families, and please nobody hate me on this, I promise you, I'm saying this from a clean heart, take your kids out of Minogue. Take your kids out of Minogue because it's a systemic problem. Systemic racism exists. If they can't get it right at the top, nothing is going to change. If you want your kids to get playtime, because you know what, Big John, Siona is the one that told me, sis, you got to record your kids, you know, upload them, because that's really where recruiters are looking. They're going to look for their stuff online. And he was like, you got to record, you know, get their clips, record, blah, 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 blah. I started doing that for my kids. You know, and then it's the network connections. Got hooked up with John Silver, took my son to play for the OG Ducks, #1 youth football team. You know, it was these kind of like little exposures that got us to see the bigger picture of the little dealing with. So if you are a parent that is aspiring, big goals, big dreams, you want to chase it with your kids, take them out of Minogue, take them out of systems like that. I promise you, you keep your kid there, they're going to keep getting no play time. My youngest son, he plays for the minor elite team. There's been multiple times where I question, why is my son sitting out? And they're putting in this point guard that I know has a lot of money. He comes from money, you know, and I'm asking myself, okay, now I know why. Because that kid comes from a lot of money. I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying that money talks. If you want true success for your kids, sacrifice. This is the time for you right now. Sacrifice and figure out what is the next step. Because I promise you, it's going to take probably a decade or whatever for Minogue to change their ways or whatever it is. Imagine Coach Mo, 2018, this is what happened to you. Imagine the people before you. You know what I mean? If there were people
Yeah.
before you, and what Sydney did, he brought in the polys over there. He brought in diversity, and we're trying to go the inclusion route. Inclusion completely kicked out the door. But yeah, right. You know what I mean? And so it's like, if we got to do it, this is how we do it together. We stand up together, take our kids out of these schools, put them in the schools. And the reason why I knew color existed, I'll tell you why. I went to Trainer Middle School and Glen Duncan. Very, very, very diverse. It wasn't until
Ditto.
I stepped out of those walls when I found out that people I was labeled as poverty. That's when I
Mhm.
found out the neighborhood I grew up in was a poverty neighborhood from middle class white people. This is how I found out. The census told me that. What do you think it made me feel about myself? You know what I mean? And so, according to certain statistics and studies, we are not supposed to be where we're at right now at all.
Yeah.
That's what studies show. Us Polynesians, us brown people, we are not supposed to be at these seats. But because we are attentive, we see the resources, we see the things that are offered to us out there, and we're chasing it with our children. Color or not. My kids attend Damani. Did they want to go there at first? No, they went to private school. They wanted to be with their cousin.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, the paths separated. And we have amazing networks and amazing friends that are now family to us that live in Las Vegas. They care so much about my children and their athletic future that they're saying, why don't you guys look at this school? Why don't you guys look at this school? And guess what? It's not your average Joe school. It's
Hmm.
schools that compete at a high national level. You know what I mean? And so those are the networks. I'm like, let's stop trying to be a part of these big schools that have big names. Because at one point, Reno High was big, McQueen was big, Damani was big, and Galena was big.
Hmm.
It's all at these different times and places. But like right now, we need to be here for our kids, advocate for the things that they want.
Yeah.
I would hate to know that my kid is miserable in a school. And now think about the poly kids that are going to Manoke. They have to wake up going to that school. Yeah, they're on spring break right now, but they have a lot to think about. They have a lot to prepare once they go there. There's a lot of unknowns that they're going to have to face because
And
of
that's
this.
why you have to check them
Yeah,
out. That's why you got to check them out.
right, right.
Check-ins.
So that's what I'm talking about. Mental health is a big deal right now.
Yeah.
And sadly, our kids are operating on emotions, and that's a lot where it's at. But we as parents have to try to keep them stable and keep them grounded.
Yeah.
Any school can have the best education program.
Yeah.
I talked with Reno High. It's with Reno High's head coach, the head coach over there, or not the head coach, but he's a Samoan coach. Amazing coach, reaching out to look out for our poly kids. And he
Yeah.
was like, I heard your kids play for Damani. Just checking in. Who does that? What coach that does that? That calls to check in on your poly kids. You know what I mean? So that's it for me. I'll go on mute.
Yeah. No, no.
No,
Ty,
And
you're
let
good.
me say something real
No,
quick.
you're
good.
right.
Um, just a little spin, right? If Sarah does what Manoke told him to do, right? She can win a lot of games, right? I've seen this happen here in Northern California where the coach doesn't play the best players, but they're good enough
Mhm.
because they have enough talent because it's Manoke. The talent will
Hmm.
the name itself will bring in players, good players, right? So if they can please the administration and go to the championship and go to the playoff game, it's a beautiful place to live in Reno. So I would who's gonna lose their job at a 8-2 record, right?
Yeah.
Who will
Yeah.
lose their job going to the quarterfinals, semifinals every year, right?
Yeah.
You've done your job by pleasing them and getting to the playoffs. I'll never lose my job. I'll never lose my job. I'll be able to live here in Reno and won't ever have to like that happens where coaches actually do that. So I applaud Sarah because some coaches will please because they don't want to move no more. They don't want to get fired, and they know that they will have the talent for the next 10 years
Yeah.
because Manogue speaks for itself, and the talent will come. So we'll always be no worse than 7-3. And
Yeah.
and because I'll always be 7-3 or better, 8-2, 9-1, I'll never get fired. And I'll able to play these light-skinned white kids, maybe the dark-skinned white kids, put the dark, this, and that. Right? Some coaches will do that, you know what I mean, and won't have a backbone like Sarah. and to answer your question, Ness, Nate went through this. My son Nate went through this when he went to his first public school. The They had the best O line and the best running back, but all they did was pass the ball with a four
Wow.
feet five quarterback. The 4 feet five quarterback was the friend of the head coach, and the coach
Hmm.
wanted to please the 4 feet five quarterback. He wasn't going nowhere better than the D3, if
Yeah.
that. So instead of running the ball, right? So my son, he couldn't go back to that school next year. You're not doing the best for the team.
Yeah.
You're not doing what's best for the team. That's why I had to check out my son to go, and he lost. Like, how can you play for a coach that's not doing the best for you and your team, right? The best for the
Exactly.
team.
Right,
What's best for
right.
the team? So
Yeah.
you cannot go there the next year. That's why June's daughter has to check out, because they're not going to do what's best for the team, because she'll be on the bench knowing dang well she can help the team. Like, how can you be, oh, I can already tell I'll be on the bench next year, and,
Hmm.
yeah, if I want to stay here, then I got to ride the pond. Nah, you go take that L next year by sitting out. That way you cannot play for these coaches no more. You can't, because you're not able to, because they're not doing what's best for you.
Yeah,
Right.
it's all valid points what you guys are making, and I love the passion and the energy behind it, because it really tells a lot about us as a community. And a quick shout out to Ninth Street, Haddock, and Montello Street. If you know, you know, because the majority of us came up from there, and then we had the opportunity to go wherever else we needed to. I want to highlight something real quick that was sent over by the big sis Jessica Van. Shout out to you. She wrote in and said, some of the Black organizations have come together on this subject and would like to align with us and show solidarity. This is not something new. Years and years of this has been the case. So shout out to Jessica Van. Shout out to all the Black organizations who continue to support us. I want to make it clear, when we say brown kids, we also mean our Black kids. We mean everybody, all of our counterparts. I'm only emphasizing brown kids. That's just because of what the audio clip has said, and that's what the reports are showing. But just know that we stand together with everybody as far as on this subject of what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. Real quick, I
Okay.
want to read this. Or Sid, did you have something?
Oh no, just know that I spoke with a lot of with a lot of alumni that I'm really good friends with at Minogue. It goes to like childhood friends that I've known that they went to Minogue, and like myself and someone grew up with, and when they heard this, they were disgusted, man,
Yeah.
because for them, they and for them to see how this played out, they were just, they were upset, they were saddened because, they knew as them as being a Minogue alumni that graduated back in Minogue in 92, 93, they were successful, but they always knew that, to, they always wanted like they wanted people like myself and brown black minorities to come there, but at that time it was like that, and for them to see how it was gradually coming to be, that was like the biggest smile that they had. But for this to hit like this and the way it came, they were just disappointed, man. They were just like, man, I can't believe this crap went down, man, like the way it came out. So, and I'm not advocating, for what Manoa did, or what Jabari did was right, but but the fact that, it did, with a lot of them, all it takes, we all know, man, the saying, just takes one bad apple to ruin everything,
Yeah.
So, but, then again, we
Wait,
all
wait, wait,
know
wait.
the,
Sydney, you said one bad apple to ruin everything?
well, no, I said, then again, you didn't let me finish. Then
Oh, my
again,
bad. My bad.
then again, this had serious, effects of on what was going on over there, for a long time. So, and like I told you saying before, this actually could be a positive thing, even though right now it is, it does affect, us and the minorities right there. But this actually can be a positive thing to now know that now you keep now. I'm not just saying for Manoa, but any other parent group, parent community from every other high school that has a displeasure of the way the coaching, of the way the coaches are running their team, if they go straight to administration, administration just needs to cut it in, cut it right there off. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So now it's going to be an alert now to say stay away from it. Don't even bother with it. Let guys like Mo and other coaches out there coach, because when you could coach the coach, it makes the team even feel better
Yeah.
and they win more. All right, I'm done.
You
Hey, I want to point something out too. So I don't know if this will be a surprise or not, but I was a part of that place for 4 years. And I'm telling you right now, this decision to fire Sarah was not made 100% by Matt Shambari. This decision was taken, whoever the complainers were, because Matt Shambari, as much as he is the president, he's just a puppet.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever the people that were complaining were, they didn't have to worry about complaining to Matt Shambari. They complained to the people they know that are the big donors at the school. The pressure comes from the outside to Shambari, and that is the biggest problem. That's where I think the school has to draw the line somewhere. Like, Shambari either has to stand behind, hey, we're paying for some of these kids to come here to help us win, or you got to stand behind the other side and stop bringing in kids to help you win games.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. We're paying. We're that first part you said about the paying. Like we're helping.
We're paying
some
for
of
these kids' tuition to come here to help us win games. So they either have to stand behind that philosophy, or they got to just change their whole philosophy in all sports. Because one of the reasons that you don't hear much about football is because realistically, you can shoot up X amount of kids who are not very good and put them on special teams 4 or 5 times a game, and you get away with it.
Yeah.
Because you can play 33 different kids if you really wanted to in football.
Yeah.
In basketball, it's more isolated. So it's a little bit different, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is happening on the football level and the boosters support Howren, so you don't hear anything about Howren. But there's no way there's not parents complaining about the football program. It's not about Shambari. It's not even about Sarah. It's about the big money, the giant stepping in and saying this person's got to go, which is exactly what happened to me too. And I guarantee you that's exactly what's happening to Sarah. Yeah. Shambari's choice of words were absolutely disgusting and horrible. But that doesn't come from the president. That comes from the outside influence. And I will be willing to put my neck on the sword when I say that, because I've experienced it, not just with my experience, with other coaches that worked at that school while I was there that were terminated, so on and so forth. So
yeah,
I just want to put that out there. Like, yeah, he's the fall guy. Matt Shambari is the fall guy. That's really what he is. And unfortunately for him, his choice of words were absolutely inappropriate and disgusting. So I guess he kind of earned the fall guy right, but it is what it is. And I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
Hey, this audio, we don't have this audio. We're not having this discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 100%.
Right.
That is 100%
right.
Absolutely right.
Without this audio, they deny this. It never happened.
Yeah.
And then they start pointing out things about Sarah that, oh, she's an aggressive coach. And she is.
Yep.
She's a tough freaking coach, man. I wish I was as tough on the kids as she is, because she's developing kids a lot faster by holding them more and more accountable. I have adjusted a little bit to the new age of 2024, unfortunately. So we let kids get away with a little bit more stuff. But I know Sarah, I know her coaching style, and accountability is what's missing in the world. And again, man, I said this 10 times on here, but I commend her and I thank her for doing what she did.
Nessie, I wanted to say that, like, it just brought awareness to me, like the comfortability of the president to be able to present himself in that way to other staff, you know, in front of the athletic director, in front of her as the, in front of Sarah, to be able to say and to use that kind of language, to use that verbiage and say the brown kids and the white kids, you know, that to me, it just translates, it communicates to me that, again, it's systemic. This is the way that outsiders control what's going on in the inside. This lets us know that it's a generational thing. For them to be so fluid, for him to easily say that, you know, and if you go back and listen to the recording, it was almost like, oh, it's not a big deal. You know, that's kind of like
Yeah.
the sense I got.
It was very natural.
Yes. You know what I mean? And
Very natural.
that's why I'm saying, and that's why it's so concerning when you use verbiage like that and you're comfortable speaking in that way. And then you have these Pacific Islander kids that predominantly come from the north side of Reno, you know, where we're taught to love and we're taught, you know, there is no color, we're all blah, 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 whatever. Then you attend this school on this side of town that a lot of those kids aren't exposed to, you know, it's like a culture shock. And so to me, to hear the president use that verbiage and to speak like that's a culture shock for me, especially if I'm seeing a lot of diversity on the basketball team, on the football team. There's a lot of that. And to hear the president of the organization to label it the brown kids and the white kids, playtime, you know, all of that, man, like my head spins and I feel bad. I genuinely feel bad for any other staff member, administrators that are okay having team meetings, having staff meetings, and this is the way the president shows up. He just throws those words out, labeling us as if we all came on a scholarship, a sports scholarship. I don't even know if that exists there, or that we can't even pay partial tuition. I'm sure some of those brown kids there can afford to pay that whole thing if you put us on a payment plan.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, Mo. I've never heard anybody say we need to play the brown kids and not the white kids.
You're
I've never
100%
heard
right.
that before.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy, man, is I have a lot of friends in this community, Polynesian community. I coach a lot of the kids, a lot of the families I know. And I, as a coach, in my experience, only speaking for myself, I've never had one of those families complain to me like other families. I'm just going to put it at that. My point is, if one of these young ladies was not as good as another white lady or another player, white, Asian, let's just say Asian for sake of conversation, a 6-foot Asian girl, and all of a sudden one of the girls had to be a bench player, I don't think there would be any riffraff, because my experience is these families hold their kids to a certain standard, and if they're not performing, they rip into the kid, not the coach.
Yeah.
They rip into the kid, not the administration.
Yeah.
It's not the coach's fault that the kid is not. And again, the other thing that's frustrating as a coach is they don't see the practice habits. They don't see what happens in practice. They don't see if their kid is just lacing up while everybody else is stretching. Like, they don't see all that. All they see is my family's here. My cousin flew in from Florida for Christmas, and my daughter didn't play. And I got a problem and won the game.
We donated this much money. We donate
Yeah.
a lot of money.
Yeah. Pay
That's
to
the
play.
worst part about the private school stuff, man, is you're, as much as you want to believe in your heart that you're getting a fair shake, at the private school level, your fair shake can be taken away any second.
Yeah.
And Sarah stood up for the right thing and cost herself a job, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But again, she did the right thing, man. She played the best players, and the results were a state championship. I sound like a broken freaking record, but and then she gets terminated. Like, it's absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. You know, when we keep talking about this subject, I mean, Ty, you had mentioned it earlier about the mental health aspect for our kids. We also have to acknowledge that this also takes a toll on our parents, specifically our first generation Polynesian American parents. because this is the first time that they've probably ever gone through this situation to where my kids go to a school that I wanted them to go to get a better look at. I've never had that opportunity. Now this happens. Now, oh shoot, what do I do now? How do I go about this situation? How can I help navigate that? So as we pivot to the home stretch, guys, I want us to think about, as we go through our final thoughts, right? What can we do that we can control, right? What are some advice or some key factors that you guys think that as parents, because this is not going to be the last time this happens. This is going to happen again. That's almost guaranteed. How can we help our community help our parents help navigate their kids to, like, either check in with our parents so that way they can check in with their kids, be a support system for them? How do you guys think we should go about, helping each other out?
As in picking the school for the kids, or
Yeah, anything as far as pertaining to the situation, right? Like, because now there's a lot of other poly parents, I'm sure, or any parents that of sort that are now having to contemplate going into next year, because summer's right around the corner. Like, all right, what do I do now? How do I go about it? Like, what is some advice that you guys would give out to our parents?
You gotta do what's best for your child. You have to do what's best for your child, whether it's going to a school 25 miles away and he has to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning and come home at 9 p.m. Right? If that's what he has to do and that's the best opportunity, or staying in that school, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
you might have to just stay in that school because that's the best opportunity, because your child. If he's a hands-on learner or this and that. You have to cater to your child and find out what's best for your child, whether it's staying at that school, going to a school that's further away, or whatever it may be. So in this situation, I might have to, because Reno is so small, I might have to just go to another school, you know, and that it will still benefit my kid. Over here in the Bay Area, this stuff that's happening in Reno happens all the time here in the Bay Area. But
Yeah.
in my case, um, I might have to put my son on a train at 5 a.m. in the morning and go to a school 25 miles south, if that's what would be the best for him. You gotta know your child and find out what's best for him.
Tiana hit it right on the spot, man. You got to find out what's the perfect fit for your school, for the school for your kid. And and it brought me back memories of um, when Derek and Joseph, Derek and Ari, and the Nagatas, when they took their kids, they didn't want their kids, they didn't want their kids to be part of any program here in Reno, because they knew the politics was so hard. And considering what happened to the older brother at Reed, you know what I'm saying? The older brother he was a special teams player at Reed, like third string special teams. He they take the kid, they take all the little kids that were getting ready to go into freshman, they take them to Folsom. That third string player became an All-American the next season at Folsom. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's not, you got to make sure that it's the perfect fit. You got to go to a place where you're not going to get judged, that your kids are going to have the equal opportunity. And the number one thing, because I was supposed to take my kids to Folsom with those guys, but I couldn't afford it, you know? And the thing is like Minogue was the next option right there. That's why I hit so hard. But to look at it, you got to find what's right, what's the best fit. If your kid's happy, I'm going to tell you this: if your kids are going to be happy, then and they can see it, then they're
Do
gonna eventually
well.
flourish. They're gonna flourish and they're gonna ball out because they know that all that stuff is doesn't matter. And when you have a coach, and this is the coach at the time, he coaches at Sac State, but he was the head coach at the time over there. The number one thing he said when he were in the locker room,
Hmm.
he said only the best players play. That's
Yeah.
it. That came straight from the head coach. He said only the best players play. And when those kids all heard that, guess what? all those kids, from Reno, all those 5 kids from Reno that went to Sacramento, they all became All-Americans. They took over that whole city. Am I not right, Mo? They took over.
100%, bro.
They took over
100%.
that whole city. They took over that whole state. They all became Power 5 D1 players.
Yeah.
Because they knew, and this is the thing, they knew if they stayed in Reno, Joseph Nagata, he was a 5-star wide receiver. He would have ended up.
Yeah.
He would have ended up. He would have ended up being a defensive end here, just because of his height and his length. You know, same thing with Caden. Caden would have never been quarterback over here. He would have ended up being a wide receiver. See, and they knew the politics here in this town at that time. They knew what was going to happen. That's why they had to go to a place like Sacramento, where they had black quarterbacks. They had 6'5" wide receivers. You know what I'm saying? Because that was the norm. And guess what?
Yeah.
All of them, you're watching them on Saturday. You know, every
Ty,
Saturday. So,
Ty, as a Reno native, right? You were born and raised here, so you've seen Reno come up and the changes that it's come. Now that you have 3 boys, right? 2 in high school and one still in elementary school, right? Everything that's been said and the things that you've experienced within the sports community, what is some things that you feel like in regards to this situation with Sarah and the parents and the players of quote unquote brown kids, you know, what are some things some advice that you would give to the parents as far as the mental health aspect of like helping the parents deal with the kids, or helping the kids understand like, hey, this isn't about you personally. This is about the system, right? Like if that kind of makes sense. What advice would you have, or do you have?
I don't know necessarily that it would be advice. I just know from my own personal experience and from what I did not have, and kind of like the narrative I'm trying to create with my children is being there with them every step of the way, supporting them. Don't just let them be the ones to look out for these schools or whatever it is. I think listening to them and really hearing them out, you know, as far as what route they want to go. I heard, and I'm only speaking the experience that I had when we were playing with the OG Ducks. These are coaches that like have coached really amazing athletes that have become NFL players. And one of the things that they kept telling the kids, and even my son had the opportunity to hear, was you have to put your education first. Education is always going to be first, you know. And so, yes, while we're advocating for the athletic side of it, if your grades are good, any school will pick you up if your athletics is just as good as well. You know what I mean? And so I can say that, did their plans go the way that we wanted? You know, as far as with my oldest and his desires to get in from the academic perspective and then hopefully be able to play football? No, none of it went that way. But what I do know, success leaves clues. You know, when one door closes here, another door is going to open up. And I think it's really just for our parents to just trust the process, be consistent, stay in the game. You know, this too shall pass. For some of our parents, and I can only imagine what my brother is going through, like trying to figure out for his son what's going to be, you know, where it's going to be. We all want the best for our kids, but we parents, we have to be equally as involved. You know, if I'm looking at a solution for this system, right, with Manogue, I have awareness now that if my kids went there and they go back, I'll be talking to the vice president or president, whoever. We need to be able to keep tight-knit, close connections with them. How will they know the need of our Pacific Islanders? You know, and this is just me advocating across the board. How would they know what our needs are? Do they even know who we are? Do they even know where we come from to be able to pass that kind of judgment? I bet you if they came to one of our luau's, or if they came to one of our homes, we fed them like crazy, that comment would have never existed. But we are
They
not
love us when we do the haka.
right. We're not in community enough with the people in these high seats or that have a seat at the table for them to really know, you know, what's going on. So parents, I know I said earlier, I just have to apologize. I know I said take your kids out of Manogue. I know I said that. I apologize. I'm not hating on Manogue at all. I just have been involved in certain systems that it takes a long time to change and you lose opportunity. So like what Sione was saying, what Sydney was saying, do what you think is best for your kids, wherever that is. I support it 100%. Listen to your kids. Make sure counseling is a thing. Mental health is real. If you need to check in, find that person, do it. But be there for your kids.
Yeah,
Coach,
let me
bring us
say
home.
something.
Oh, go ahead, John.
Let me just say something real quick. You also have to, it had been mutual. These girls wanted to go to school there, and I'm pretty sure they wanted the girls too. And then for them to say something like this, it's like, dang, did they really want us, or are they using us, right?
Yeah,
And these I'm going through something right now too, where I feel like we're being strung along, like they're stringing us along. They're saying what we want to hear. They're telling us to trust the process. They're telling me, hey, your son is only a freshman.
Right.
Like,
Right.
they're telling me what I want to hear, and it sounds like they're gonna go, because my son, y'all know my son, he gonna give you everything he got. He gonna bleed for his team. He gonna go all out 100%. He gonna give everything for his team. And I expect that from the school, right? Because you wanted us there. We wanted to come there, and you also wanted us there, and we gonna give you everything you want. So I expect you to give my son everything you got, because he's gonna put it on the line for you. And sometimes I feel like they just saying what I want to hear. And you gotta realize, you know, real quick. Lucky for me, my son is a freshman, but I'm gonna figure it out real quick. You know what I'm saying? And do what I gotta do. Because if I feel like you just using my son, you know, it's gonna be all bad. It's gonna be all bad for everybody. So you got to make that move, and figure out quickly. And I don't know, how do you figure it out, but everything just feels fake, right? It
yeah,
feels fake. So like, and if it's on me, then it's on me. I feel like I made the right decision if I do decide, whatever I do. But you got to be careful too, because it sound they just say things because remember, you're brown. Don't forget you
yeah,
brown. So they
Right.
gon' they
Right.
No,
gon' they gon'
you're dark or white.
Right.
You're
yeah,
dark.
yeah. You're a dark white.
Yes.
Hey,
That's all I
Coach,
gotta say.
before I give it over to you real quick, I do have a parent comment that I do want to read. Shout out to the big bro BJ, man. His comment says that part that scares me the most is how casual the face of this prestigious institution, President Matt Shambari, spoke so casually about discrimination, and to communicate that with a subordinate as if it was a norm. That in itself is the most troubling part of the recording. If he, the president, is speaking to a subordinate in that manner, who or what is said amongst colleagues there, or to boosters, or etc.
Hey, and
What are you guys' thoughts
nobody
on that?
nobody gets caught the first time. That's just like a rule of thumb.
Yeah,
Nobody gets caught the first time, and that's actually what I was gonna hit on a little bit. Is similar to her question. Is I wonder if this is a term that's used so normally that it seemed
mm,
like a normal conversation with him and a coach. I don't
Yep.
know.
mm,
I don't know. Like I said, those things were not said to me, but I I can't imagine if you play that recording and it comes out
Right.
like you're just saying and or the or
Yeah.
hi. It
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
just comes out so fluently and so naturally. There's no pause. There's no hesitation. There is no, well, what should I say? I don't want to say this. So there's none of that. So
None.
I think the person that sent that the message that you just read is spot on, man. Like, what
mm,
is really going on? If Sarah didn't record this, nobody would question them because they are the who's who of Reno. And if they said, "Oh, she's a liar. This didn't happen. She's exaggerating. It was taken out of context." Well, then, yeah, we would not be having this podcast about this topic, and
yeah,
probably none of this stuff would be a big deal. The recording is walks like a duck and talks like a duck, and it's a duck, man. Like I don't know what else to
yeah,
say. Like
Yeah.
I don't know Matt Shambari that well. My experience with him was not fantastic. But again, it's been 5 years for me. So I'm sure a lot's changed at the school, hopefully for the good. But this is unacceptable. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you got. You are running a facility in charge of teenagers, and you're referring to them in this context. It is absolutely disgusting and inappropriate, man. I've been coaching 25 years. I use curse words like, gosh, God dang it, or F that, but I've never told a kid like you're an idiot or nothing. It's never personal. But what he was saying there is it sounded exactly like what we heard. And that's the problem.
And it was normal. It was the normal way that he said it. I think that's what kind of like struck me, like, oh, it's like the way that he said it was so casual. And I was just like, oh man, all right. That's how you see us, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right there. So that's what really, like, I think that's what hit my nerve, hit my emotion right there. Is because, you put your heart out for certain people, and this is what the way that they look at you, and you're like, damn, all right, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
and especially for you, Sid, because Sydney, I'm sure you guys know, Sydney has been a huge part of behind the scenes, a huge part of starting this entire domination of football they've had about 9-10 years ago now.
Yes. That
so
is true.
for someone like him, he's one of the reasons I ended up at Hug 2. I'm sorry, not at Hug 2, but one of the reasons I ended up at Minogue in the first place is because the culture was changing. And I'm a Middle Eastern first generation too, similar to what we were talking about earlier, right? Like it was eye-opening for me to realize as a fairly young coach that there's that was my only experience coaching at a private school, for the record. And I realized that the power that controls the people that work there have nothing to do with the school. They don't care about what's going on there. It's what they want. And I'm not going to name names, but during the years that Sydney's kids were there, there was a lot of good players. That some of them would average 8, 9, 10 yards a carry. And in tight games, there would be other players that their ethnicity is irrelevant, but they come from an upper echelon local family, that their kids would get 3 or 4 attempts for absolutely no reason when the game is still in reach. Yeah. I'm talking as a coach. Should everybody get the opportunity to play? Of course. Who doesn't want all the kids to get out there and play? Even as a coach, I feel bad sometimes when it's a 10-point game at the end of the game and 4 of my kids didn't play. Those are the kids I'm talking to first after the game. Like, hey, thanks for being a good teammate. I know you didn't get in tonight, but hey, we got a 10-point win. It was a tight game, But it's the complete opposite, man. It's what they say and what they do are obviously 2 different things. Don't take my word for it. There's a recording.
Yeah. I think all in all, right, as we hit the home stretch, right, and I thank you guys all for your guys' your thoughts on this subject. I mean, for me, I continuously keep thinking about the players, right, the girls basketball team, the students in general in Minogue, but most importantly, Sarah Ramirez. Coach, you said it yourself. Like, she sacrificed. She took one for the team, so that way to get this fixed. In order to get this fixed, obviously somebody had to take the fall, and she did the right thing. My thoughts go out to the parents. I was talking to my 2 older brothers earlier about trying to get them on the pod, and they're saying it's not the right time. Whatever the situation may be, we hope that the good guy upstairs, it's through his will, right? Through God's will, that whatever it gets done, and there is either justice behind it, it's justified, and that whatever happens with President Shambari, whatever comes of it, hopefully justice is served. I want to give a quick shout out to everybody in the chat. Man, you guys have been cracking. I'm sorry I couldn't read everything. I'm already blind as it is, so I didn't want to be like this the whole time, squinting at the comments. But I see you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Before we leave, panel, is there any final thoughts or any final words of encouragement or anything to Sarah, to the players, to just us as a community here in Reno, as a Pacific Islander community, or worldwide?
My biggest thing is, you got to support each other. The community has to support each other through thick and thin, because it's obvious that the people who are putting their arms around all of us as minorities, they're not doing it for the right reasons. And it's unfortunate that it's affecting our kids and our children that are playing youth sports. And that's it, man. Just support one another. And for Sarah's, I've been nothing but saying good things about Sarah. But yeah, and I think it's important that we support her cause, because without her doing the brave things that she's done, God knows how many others would be affected by inappropriate words, actions, decisions that are based on not what the sport is about, but more about who's, the powers to be, and so on and so forth. So I think we've all learned a lot. I think it's been a eye-opening thing, and it taught me to carry my phone on, video camera everywhere I go now, because honestly, if I would have been smart enough like Sarah to take advantage of the opportunity to record my conversations, I feel like I could have helped put a stop to this years ago. But unfortunately, I wasn't as smart as that back in the day. So I just hope things change, man. It's a great school. There is good people there. So let's not bash everybody. There is good people there. Sydney and I were talking today about some of the staff members there that helped a lot of the minority kids that came in on scholarship. They would help them with lunch, and they would help them make sure that they were fed, and blah blah blah. So there is, for the one bad apple, I would say there's a lot of good apples there as well that do care and are there to support, but they're all powerless. That is the problem, is nobody there can make their own decision. That's the biggest problem.
John, final thoughts?
Hey, from an academic standpoint, these schools are still great schools. I'm talking about here in the Bay Area, right? Where all these schools, where all this politics is happening, and mostly the politics is from my view is just on the athletic side. But at the end of the day, these schools are still great academic schools. It's still a good school academically for these kids, but what disturbs me is when the president is using these terms, that's where it gets kind of crazy for me.
Yeah.
And that's where that bad apple comes from, this and that, some schools might be great school. Mano can be a great school, but when your president who's running the show over there is using these terms, I don't know.
Sid, highlight me, man. Final thoughts.
Hey, final thoughts. Shoot, like Mo said, man, you come out of this and it makes you think, it actually, makes you think, and makes you open up to, what's really going on. And, you really gotta, when you go into these kind of, schools or institutions or anything like that, you gotta, you just gotta make sure that the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, and to make sure that your kid is comfortable. Your kid has to be comfortable over there, because he or she are the ones that are going to be there 8 to 10 hour, maybe 12 hours a day if they're playing sports, too as well. So you got to make sure that both of them are comfortable. And shout out to Sarah. Honestly, I really didn't know Sarah that very well. Only thing I knew about her was communication through my nieces and my relatives about the coach, and about the kids going to school there. And I really feel, shoot, I was excited, man. Mo knows I work with Mo 7 days a week, man. You know how I always talk about those girls.
Oh,
You
for sure, man.
I talk about those girls, how they bringing it all the time, and to see how they were affected with that their coach has been gone, is is sad. But to take it out, one thing that I could say, with private schools, it's a church school. And the one thing I'll say, I tell everybody, man, if it's a church school, man, you gotta start practicing what you preach, man. Through the Bible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're all about that, we all know the answers are inside there. So other than that, shoot, I hope we all learn from this and continue to grow.
Yeah. Right on. Thanks, Sid. Ty, final thoughts?
We need to keep having these candid conversations. I think we need to be able to normalize having these conversations to be able to support our children, because this conversation, this is going to be done with sooner than we know it. But it's the feelings and the thoughts that stay with our children, and trauma stems from experiences like this. So if we can just keep having these conversations and always find solutions for it, be supportive of one another, I think really this is what's going to help us to be able to figure it out, because I hate people losing sleep over it, trying to figure it out. So let's keep talking. I hope that you get other people, and non-brown people too, to be able to have this conversation, because we were able to see it from a different lens. But I would be interested, to keep it talking, because when we stay silent and we stop talking about it, that's how systemic stuff keeps getting repeated over and over. When we stop and we stay silent. And so I give it up to Sarah. Thank you for being so brave enough to stand and to do what you did. I can't imagine, what is going on in your household, but I feel like this is the way that we can support, is keep having conversations about it. My kids, they're wearing shirts that says little brown kids, little brown boys, and although, yes, the buzz in Reno, it's mostly like on social media or whatever, but this is how we can make it relevant. We make it relevant, not just for our brown people, but for our Black people, us minorities. We stand together. This is our way of silent protesting. We show ways that we're support and that we are standing together in these situations. So thanks, Ness.
Right on, Ty. Yeah, once again, give a quick shout out to the chat, man. Hearts in the chat for Sarah and the rest of the girls of the basketball team at Bishop Manogue High School. And the hope and the prayer is that throughout these next few months, the article came out this morning that President Shambari had stepped down, took a unpaid leave of absence. So whatever the independent investigation happens, hopefully they find out what that needs to be found out, and Sarah can reclaim her name back, because I've read a lot of comments that they've been trying to drag her, but as long as us as a minority community in general can stick together, stick behind our players, stick behind our coaches, I truly believe that justice will prevail. I want to thank you, panel. Thank you guys so much, Sid, Ty, Coach, John. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your Tuesday night. I know for most of us here in Reno, or all of us here in Reno, it's spring break. John, you just got out of football practice, man. So thank you guys so much. We hope and we pray that you guys have a successful week wherever you guys go through. And I hope to see you guys on a future episode. Thank you guys, everybody in the chat. Peace, love, and we'll see you guys.
Right on. Hey, let me say let me give a shout out to my 4 players I coached from Reno. Ronan Rios from Reed, Charlie Broomfield from Reed, Marley Heff from Manogue, and Richard Liuvea from Worcester. Hey, those dudes rock with me. We went to Florida. Shout out to those boys. When we went to Florida, funny story, everybody over there in Florida said, man, we are the biggest Mexicans we ever seen. Hey, and we beat them up 50-0 all 3 games.
Hey,
shout out to my boys out there in Reno.
Hey, John, while you're at it, I know you boys with Nate Burleson. Tell him I'm looking for a sponsor for my podcast.
Hey, for sure. I'm looking for a podcast. I'm looking for a sponsor too for my guy traveling all over the nation.
All right, everybody. Good luck.
Right. Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Take care, fellas.
Good night. Yeah, lock